Okay, so in this tutorial what we're going to do is we're going to learn about another method, pardon the pun, in which you can query the document object model for elements. So what I've done is I've created 3 paragraphs here, but you'll notice there's no ID. There's no ID on the paragraphs, and I've removed the ID from the button. So based on what we know so far, document.getElementById, we have no way to query the elements and listen out for a user click or change the color or the font size of an element. Well, that is where we get to the next part of this course, where I teach you about the query selector. So what we can do is we can use query selector, and this will return the first element that matches that selector. So for example, if I was to do query selector and pass in P for paragraph, we're going to grab that paragraph there. But if I do it for a button, as there's only one button, we're going to grab that button. So let's just write up the code. So I'm going to create a variable. We'll say let button be equal to, we'll say document.query selector, and how this works is you pass in the type you're looking for. So I'm looking for any element that is a button. And now if I just log out to the console.log button, what do we get? Well, let's have a look. And we get button. Okay, awesome. Now what we can do is we can also create a variable for the first paragraph we get. So we can say let paragraph be equal to document.query selector parentheses, and we're going to pass in P here. So we're basically asking this inbuilt method to query the document object model for the first paragraph it finds. Okay, and the first paragraph on the page will be this one here. And now what I want to do is I just want to add an event listener to this variable that we've called button. So we can just say button dot on click. When the user clicks it, we're going to assign it the value of a function. So you have a function here with parentheses, we have our curly braces, and then we write our code inside of our code block. And what we can do is we can just get paragraph using dot notation access the style, then using dot notation access the color, and we will assign that a value of blue, semicolon to end the statement. And now if we save and refresh, if I click on the button, the first paragraph goes blue. You'll also know that you can change more than one style property. So you could, for example, also say paragraph.style.font size. Font size, oops, apologies, I'm trying to select it. So font size, note the uppercase S, and assign that a value of 50px, semicolon to end the statement. And now if I save and refresh, we've now changed both the color and the font size of an element on the page. And we've done that using the query selector for both the first button and the first paragraph. Okay, that's awesome. Another very quick thing to note is you don't have to use the function keyword. You can turn that to an arrow function as well if you wanted, and that will still work. And just to prove it, if I save and refresh and then click, our code still works. So this is really cool now, because what we're learning is that we can use the document object model to essentially get for us elements from the page, and then based on a user event, a click, a hover, we can actually run some code, i.e. change the inner text of an element, we can change the inner HTML, we can even change the styling properties, color, font size, etc. So the key takeaway from this tutorial is we've learned another way to query the DOM, and that is using the query selector method. Note the use of the uppercase S, and what this method will do is will return the first element that matches the selector, so the first element that we find. Okay, that's awesome. I'll see you in the next one.